Welcome to Raising Daughters, the podcast that helps parents learn the best ways to support their daughters as they navigate the high levels of stress, anxiety, pressure, and uncertainties so pervasive in our culture today. Dr. Tim Jordan is a developmental and behavioral pediatrician who has specialized in counseling girls for over 30 years and sheds light on the realities of today's young women in all facets of their lives. This is your opportunity to learn how to better support your daughters, making them feel safe, secure, and truly loved in the midst of life's ups and downs. Here is your host, Dr. Tim.
Hey friends, Dr. Tim Jordan here, back with a brand new episode of Raising Daughters. I really appreciate you all stopping by here once a week to listen in as we talk about girls today, what's going on for them, raising daughters, maybe some awarenesses and some tools you can learn to help raise your daughters in the way that you would like. And I have, as you know, guests on periodically. And May 8th is International Women's Day. And so I thought it'd be important to talk about that a bit. But instead of me just talking about it, I have a guest today. She has done a lot of interesting things. And we're going to talk about women's roles today in leadership, amongst other things. Her name is Melissa Saleh. And by the way, welcome, Melissa, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And so she's a serial entrepreneur. I guess that's the best way I could describe her. She spent her career intersecting technology, storytelling. In 2020, she co-founded Fairplay AI, the world's first fairness as a service company, which I want to ask you about. She also created and executed narrative strategies for huge companies like Facebook and Google and Citibank and GE. She's done all kinds of stuff with Fortune 500 companies. She's also a journalist and editor for outlets like the New York Times, the Huffington Post. So she's been playing at a high level for a long time. And so thank you so much again for joining Raising Daughters.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So is there anything important I missed other than the fact that you're the mother of two daughters, which is the most important thing? But anything else?
I'm the mother of two daughters. That is all of the things I do in my life, particularly since I had my daughters, is framed by, is this making the world better for my daughters? That's my motivating question. Every morning, every evening, that's my benchmark.
So you've done a lot of things. Where's most of your focus today?
Well, my focus today is winding down my role with Fairplay. So my husband and I, a week before lockdown, learned that we were expecting our older daughter. And during that year, we were alone together in our apartment, and we worked together with our technical co-founder to launch Fairplay, to launch this AI company. And it is the culmination of really my husband's lifelong work to find ways to bring technology into greater financial inclusion, greater societal inclusion for all people, not just people of a particular race, creed, demographic, but for all Americans and all people whose lives are impacted by algorithmic decision-making, which is becoming everybody. So we have been working together, having two children, one after the other, and also launching this company and building this company since October of 2020. We formally launched the company in October of 2020. So the company is in great shape. My husband and the team are performing miracles and doing great work. And I am now getting ready to step down from my day-to-day role at the company and move back into storytelling, writing, and more of a focus on my own career.
So since we're at the time of the International Women's Day, I thought we would talk about women and their role in change, and especially in this culture today where with the present administration, there's all kinds of messages out there about inclusion, exclusion. Seems like we've become a more male-dominated society once again, even though it never completely went away. I think there's a lot of messages out there, I think, that are confusing for people. So what I wanted to start with, if it's okay, is I think we've been doing a better job allowing women, quote unquote, allowing women to have places of leadership, places at the table in the last 20 or so years. But it seems like there's new challenges today. There's still struggles. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, I would agree with that. I see it in a number of different ways. I have always looked at this world as what are the systems in place, who created those systems, who runs those systems, and do those systems work for me or do they not? And I'll give an example of how this has been a lifelong interest for me. I was an English major. English literature has always been my passion. I made my living as a writer in New York for decades. When I went to take the AP English exam in school, I said, I think that I understand the system for this higher education testing. I think that I understand the formula and the thinking behind the creation of this formula. So I'm going to experiment with this English AP, and I'm going to test and see if I do, in fact, understand the system and if I am able to master the system. So what I did, the English AP has a 5-paragraph essay as a requirement, and that's a big part of your final grade. I said, I believe that I understand exactly what they're looking for in this 5-paragraph essay. I understand the grading. I've done a little research on who grades these and how they grade them. And so I'm gonna see if I can beat this system. So I took a book that I had not read. I knew a bit about the book, but I hadn't read it. And I wrote the formulaic 5-paragraph essay that I believed the graders would want. And I got a perfect score. And that let me know, okay, there's a system operating here. It was created long before I ever entered this system, but it is very much affecting me because this is my grade and this affects my college admissions, et cetera. So maybe instead of, I'm not saying don't study and don't read. That's not at all what I'm saying. I read copiously. I did eventually go read the book, but you have to understand the system that you're operating in.
Yeah.
And we are operating in a system, and I mean all people, are operating in a system that was built by one specific group of people and has been run by one specific group of people. I'm not here to make judgments about right or wrong, good people, bad people, etc. I'm simply saying I'm working in a system, wasn't built for me. So, okay, how do I win? How do I win in this system? And that, I think, is a key question for women right now, because playing the game by the rules has not necessarily yielded the results that we want. Women's income is still in that range of 75 to 80 cents on the dollar for every dollar that men earn. Women's representation on boards, at the top of corporate life, at the top of most of these sort of echelons of power is waning. It is not actually increasing. So, okay, where can we work within this system to create change and create new vectors of winning for women? I mean, look, I think you could say that the people in the White House right now have a similar view. Their view is slash and burn the existing system. Like, just throw out enormous government agencies, just toss them out, assume that they have no value. Well, what is that? That's the dismantling of a system. And it's not dissimilar from what I sort of do when I approach a problem like this, but I don't believe in raise the system to the ground and build again. I mean, I think women have a bit of a difficulty right now, which is, do you fight men? Do you fight men for power? Or do you stay powerless? Or do you look for an option C? And I'm looking for an option C. And entrepreneurialism, to me, provides that option, because the beauty of entrepreneurialism is you create your own kingdom. You really do, or your queendom. And if you can be a woman and truly carve out a place in American business and create something and build a product that people want, it's undeniable. No man can argue with that. You have built a product and many, many people want to buy it. And you are now cash flow positive, and you have figured out the systems and processes of your business, and you now have an empire. And nobody can take that away from you. Unless our government really does turn dictatorial and starts taking businesses away from people, which has happened in the past. And I don't want to pretend that that couldn't happen now, but I believe in the American spirit, and I believe that America will prevail and capitalism will remain free. What am I saying here? I'm saying women go start companies, because take that away from you. You are not necessarily going to get the CEO role of a company that has been around for 20, 30 years. Maybe it will happen, but as we're finding, women who are smashing through that corporate ceiling and getting to CEO aren't always set up to succeed. In fact, they rarely are set up to succeed. And they're going to face a culture and a system that wasn't built for them to lead. It just wasn't. You could sit there and say, is that a good or bad thing? You can analyze it. I don't like to do that. I just want results. I want more women billionaires. I want more women entrepreneurs. I want more, LPs focused on funding women founders. I want more VC firms that are truly focused on founders beyond that look slightly different than the typical view of what a venture-backed founder looks like. So that's how I see it. Let's find ways and let's not battle men. Let's not fight over power. There is enough to go around. Let's go create our own empires.
We are talking with Melissa Saleh. She is a serial entrepreneur, and she's also the founder of a company called Fair Play AI.
Yeah, I'm a co-founder. My husband is my husband is the founder and CEO. His technical co-founder is John Merrill. I should note here that I work with men. I love working with men. Men are brilliant. I do think it's getting a little dangerous to polarize this view of, well, women need to be in power and therefore they can't work with men. I actually think that's a dangerous view. Working with men where you want to be an equal and where you want to have a clear leadership role can be a challenge, particularly in tech. Yeah. The biggest thing I tell women and the biggest thing that I focus on in raising my daughters is strength above all. You are going to have to be tough. You're going to, when somebody says something that sort of takes away your power or implies you have less power, or if someone sends an email and doesn't include you, or has an important meeting and doesn't include you, or any of these things, you're going to have to advocate for yourself. You're going to have to be relentless, and you're going to have to always be saying, I should be at that meeting, without bringing a lot of sort of personal story into it. Oh, maybe I'm not good enough to be there, or maybe I shouldn't speak up, or frustration and anger. Oh, these idiots. I can't believe that I have to speak up constantly. I'm sorry, but yes, you do. This is the reality. Yes, you do have to get up one more time and tell them one more time. It's frustrating. Women are frustrated. It can feel demoralizing. It can feel like we're not getting anywhere. Too bad. Keep going. And I raise my daughters very aware of that. Hey, did something happen that made you feel less than? Did something happen where you were attempting to lead a group or have your voice heard, et cetera, and you were cut off? Stand up for yourself. Advocate for yourself every single time. It may be tiring, but once you develop the habit, it's just sort of habitual. It doesn't involve such an emotional heft anymore. And it doesn't involve the story of, oh, men are never going to let me in. And, oh, I'm never going to. It's like that story is exhausting us, and it's exhausting the cause. We simply have to accept we haven't made the progress we want yet. There's still a ways to go. Get up every day and do it. And I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying that if you want the results, you have to do the work. And this is the work that women are being called to do. And I want to make sure that my daughters develop this habit so that it's not so hard for them when they get into the workforce and whatever they choose to do.
I think one of the challenges I see for girls, young women that I work with, and I think it's also for women, is that I want them to do what you're saying, but I don't want them to feel like they have to do it the male way. I read a book about 10, 12 years ago called The Athena Doctrine. Have you ever read that book?
I know of the book, yeah.
So the authors went around the world to, I don't remember how many countries, and just kind of surveying people and asking them what kind of qualities of leadership do they most admire, that are most necessary, that they want most in their leaders. And everywhere they went, the qualities of leadership that they said oftentimes did not match the more traditional male quality of leadership, which is power, control, that sort of thing. People wanted leaders who were intuitive and who were collaborative and that sort of thing. So I want your daughters and every girl I work with, I want them to, if they want to be a leader, I want them to, to go for it, but I don't want them to feel like they have to do it the male way, the traditional male way. They can do it with some of the more feminine qualities of leadership, if I can say that.
Well, I think that's a very astute comment, that a reality that I have had to face in my career and in my life. I am not a man. I do not operate like a man. I do not have the level, and this is a physiological reality. I do not have the level of testosterone that a man has. I do not have the physiology. And as a result, testosterone is kind of a focusing superpower. It makes you laser focused. One of my, Luann Brizendine, who wrote The Male Brain and the Female Brain, gave an analogy that I love, which is, okay, well, what is the difference between the male brain and the female brain? And when I say male and female, I'm referring more to physiology. I'm referring to the hormones of estrogen and testosterone, the body makeup. I don't necessarily believe in the rigidity of maleness and femaleness.
But there is science. There is science.
There's science, and we have different physiology. My body, my mind, everything works very differently than my husband's, and that's just a reality. Yeah. Does that mean it's less than? No, it does not.
No.
I burn out if I try to operate like a man. I burn out. It is not how I work. I am not, there's a term in startup culture, grind. I am the opposite of grind. I have to go out and take nature walks and be, looking at the sky, et cetera. And that's when all the solutions and ideas and next steps come to me. And then I go and implement them. It's a very different way of working. And not all women work that way and not all men work that way, but there are major differences. So, okay, how do I harness these abilities that are unique in some ways to me? I have learned that a lot of times when I go into these meetings, I am able to offer something that the men were not necessarily able to, because I have gone off in my kind of feminine way of working. And I have thought of creative solutions. It came to me because I was not at my desk grinding in a sort of very traditional way. How do I, as Hemingway would say, show, don't tell? How do you have to show the men, yes, I'm feminine. Yes, I'm a woman. I'm not going to try and be a man. I'm not a man. It would be foolish. And I am equally as effective as a woman, being a woman in this team, in this environment, as a leader. I always go back to, how did Steve Jobs know to build an iPhone? How did Henry Ford know to build a car? No consumer in market testing would have said, hey, I want to give up the horse and carriage for an automobile. They had never seen one before. Nobody was saying, oh, I want to give up my BlackBerry for this whole new invention, the iPhone, because they had never seen it. They didn't know what they wanted because it had never been shown to them. I think there's an element of that with female leadership. You're telling me, when asked, people want more intuitive leaders, more collaborative leaders, more empathetic leaders. That's not all women, of course, but that's women. But they've never seen it, not in this country. And so I think that here's where sales and marketing and packaging come in. We've got to package and market and sell our female leaders so that the American public and the Western world can get comfortable with the fact that, oh yeah, we said we wanted more empathetic, collaborative, intuitive leaders. That's women. And now we have a woman. Oh, look, we have what we want. But right now there is a disconnect.
Well, that's because I think we're going to need to redefine all that. I have this vision in my head back when the son Bush was president. And there was, it was at some point in the war, and he was on an aircraft carrier, and he had on like the military uniform, even though he had never been in the military. And he was like, mission accomplished, like this hard, like this, macho kind of thing. And I was thinking to myself, I think we just need to redefine things like leadership, courage, assertiveness, because our model is the male model, and it's not wrong, but it's a little bit different, I think, approach than than what females can bring, but we don't value it enough.
Well, courage, I think we are missing the real courage in this country. I'm just going to say something right now. Real courage is going into the hospital, having had your body taken over by growing another human being, and facing Western medicine, which is a system that was not created for women, and it was not created for the healthiest births. And we are seeing the result of that. And I, better than the vast majority, know how badly that can go for women. It's going into that hospital and it's creating a life. It is leveraging your body, going through horrific pain, going through incredible risk to yourself and others, and birthing a healthy human being into this world. That's courage. Okay, I've done it. And that's courage. Don't you do like, I'm sorry, but we are missing where the real heroes are in this country. We are missing the women who bring their babies home and then their partners are not available, or their partners abandon them, and those women get up every day and they do right by their children. That's courage. In a world that is not set up to support them, in a world that does not respect them or honor them, this society does not in any way honor mothers. Like, give me a break.
If I ask, if at one of my weekend retreats with girls or one of my summer camps with girls, if I ask them who are the heroes in our country, I've never heard anybody say a woman giving birth to a child. What I hear is first responders, police officers, firemen, soldiers, professional athletes, but almost none of these girls are ever going to fit that profile. So then they don't see themselves as heroes or even leaders.
Well, I think I want to change that.
Yeah,
because the same. So I went through a horrific tragedy with my first child. I arrived at Mount Sinai Hospital in August of 2014, 9 months pregnant, in labor with my first child. And when I arrived, my doctors, all male, informed me, zero empathy or kindness, that my daughter's heart had inexplicably stopped. She had died. And I now had to give birth to her, or my life could be in danger too. And I went through that essentially alone. And I came out of it and my life was destroyed by that loss, by everything that happened on that day. So I had to go through an unbelievable process of gradual destruction and then building back up in order to make it out to California. I went through a divorce after that loss, meet my now husband, fall in love, create a new relationship, and then go through 2 more pregnancies. And bring healthy children into the world with zero guarantee that they would survive or that I would survive. I was in my early 40s. It was pretty much the highest risk scenario imaginable. I had to use a lot of the tools that documented by professional athletes, Navy SEALs, high-performing heroes, first responders, the tools of mental toughness, high performance, resilience, how to get up every day in conditions of incredible uncertainty and danger and still function at a high level. I pulled from Phil Jackson's book, The Last Dance. I read all about Mike Tyson's techniques. These heroes are not different than women. These tactics apply for women too. We are simply not placing what women are doing in the same category. And I think that is a mistake.
The other thing I see, I totally agree. The other thing I see, and your daughters are young, one of the things because I'm a pediatrician, my original background, but my subspecialty is developmental and behavioral pediatrics. So I haven't done medicine for 30 years. I counsel girls, basically, run camps, retreats. I do a lot of things. But one of the things that I've seen a lot is that even as young as your daughter's ages, which are preschool, I think, right? Girls start getting labeled. The girls who are fiery, the girls who are strong-minded, the girls who are independent-minded. A lot of times, even at that age, they start getting labeled as being bossy or too much. Even though it's the year 2025, we still don't allow girls to have that kind of spirit. Now, sometimes, they need to smooth out some of their rough edges if they're, as we all do.
As I do too. I'm smoothing mine out every day.
But that's different than stifling them or labeling them and judging them and making them feel bad for being the way they are. And I think that starts when they're young.
It does. As a mother, I am vigilant. Hey, girls, be loud, speak up. Oh, those people are looking at us. Let them look. I made a promise to myself because I had to go quite literally to hell and back in order to bring these healthy children into the world. And so when I did it, I made a promise to myself, I'm going to raise them the way I want to because I've earned it. And the way I want to raise them, I raise little champions. And I don't mean forcing them into competition. If they want to compete, they can compete. But I mean, when they walk into a room, they know who they are. They are unafraid to speak their truth, and they're unafraid to offer whatever they have to offer. And if anyone says anything to them, they know their mom is behind them. I also make sure that they know I've got their back. I'm not going to fight their battles for them. I'm not going to, step in and make the world perfect. They are responsible for that on their own. But if they need me, mommy's there with the bazooka if needed. And
I would not want to cross you. I don't want to cross you.
Well, thank you. You
in a
never
good
want
way.
to use
In a good way.
There's the analogy of the anaconda in the chandelier. Have you heard this analogy?
No.
When there's a big group of people and you're in a ballroom and there's a big chandelier, if people look up and they see that there's an anaconda coiled in the chandelier, it might be asleep. It might be dead. But the fact that there is an anaconda in that chandelier is going to make everybody at that party act very differently.
Yeah.
I'm an anaconda in the chandelier for my children.
Nice. Yeah. Good for you.
I never want to wake up. I never want to have to actually get involved. I want them to be able to handle it themselves. But there's an anaconda in the chandelier. And if they need it, it's there.
Well, you're their safe base. So if they really need to touch a safe base to get a little courage in a certain moment or some affirmation, then everybody needs that. And so good for you. They have a mom who's there in case they need you. You're not there leading the way, but you're there saying, if you really need me, I'm here, which is what all girls need, and boys, by the way.
And modeling. I think also modeling how I am with my husband. I think it's very important. Everyone's marriage is their own. I would never deign to tell anybody how to conduct a marriage. But the way, another thing that I promised myself after I got divorced for the first time is I want to get married again, but I want it to be a marriage that works for me. And that's not going to be a traditional marriage, I can tell you right now. And so the way our marriage operates is I deeply respect him and his masculine abilities and all of his abilities. And I expect the same respect. My work is just as important, even if it's unpaid work of setting up our household and the baby, taking care of babies, et cetera. It's equally important, always, always. And I'm pretty vigilant about that standard. Because I want our daughters to see that they're not the least important thing going on in this household. Yeah, they are arguably the most important thing. I
think the healthiest. I'm sorry. I think the healthiest young women I see are the ones who have a nice blend. It's not like you don't diss the masculine qualities and just have feminine. There's a nice blend. There's lots of value in all those qualities. It's just that we need to educate our girls about what those feminine qualities are, those feminine qualities of leadership are, and make sure we affirm those when they show those.
Absolutely.
So they know that they see themselves then as being a leader. I'm wondering fast forward your daughters to now they're in their teen years, maybe they're in college, those kinds of years. I'm wondering, based upon what you have faced in the world of business, in the world of education, in the world of writing, just out in the world, any advice you would have for them as far as keeping true to themselves so they don't end up having to change themselves to fit the mold of that traditional masculine style of leadership?
Well, that's a fantastic question. I'm a big believer in build the foundation strong. If you build the foundation strong, it's going to have a lot less trouble down the line. I used to run a website called Infrastructurist because I believe that everything has a foundational infrastructure, be it a person, a human being, a family, a building, a society, a government. It's going to have a foundational infrastructure. And where I really put a ton of my effort is in those first 3 core years for my daughter, because as you know, as an expert and physician, 85% of your foundational brain mapping happens in your first 3 years of life. So I wanted to give them as strong a foundation as possible during those first 3 years. So I made a lot of career sacrifices during their first 3 years so that I could be as available as possible to ensure that whatever they need in their sort of healthy and strongest possible development, they would get. Then it's a matter of reinforcing as they go out into the world. When they bring me an issue, I have a set of rules that I follow. The first thing I say is, well, what do you think we should do? Because it takes away their agency if I simply say, well, here's what we should do, or here's what you should do. My goal is not to have children who are dependent on me. My goal is to raise children who have deep faith and confidence in their own decision-making ability and their own ability to handle situations in a way that is true to them.
Which only comes through experience.
Women right now are struggling, going back to your point about the masculine versus feminine way of doing things. Women right now are struggling to find a way that works, a pathway through this maze that actually works. I have, through trial and error over years, found my own way, and I'm not saying it's perfect, it's a work in progress, but my own way of working with men based on who I am. It's not a one size fits all for all women, because all women are different,
right.
But based on who I am, and what I have available to me to, number one, get men to listen to me, and number two, then find a way to win their respect and work with them. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, and I'm not saying it's an easy task, but if girls and women can at least have some sense of that skill set for themselves, like the way that I partner best with men or boys to do X and Y, to accomplish a goal, to build to build a sandcastle, to do a school project. Like, okay, I have this set of qualities and many boys have that set of qualities, or even another person. It doesn't have to be focused on gender. But if they know who they are, and if they know what they're good at and what they love and what they're best at, then any situation they go into, they're going to be able to say, here's what I provide. Here's the role that I want to play in this team or in this project. And they'll have a sense of the pathway through, as opposed to kind of fumbling around in the dark, trying to find a way to work with people, and then butting up against sort of traditional gender roles. Customs, biases, which always exist. We're humans. Yeah. Everybody has them. So I think the number one superpower is that deep knowledge of self. And then competence breeds confidence. So the more competence they can have, the more confidence they will have in their ability to do this thing and other things. And the other big thing is confidence in your ability to figure it out and learn it. Oh, I don't know how to do that yet. I learned that from Instagram. You always say yet. Oh, mommy, I don't know how to do that yet. But you can learn. If you want to learn, you can learn. There is no inhibition. Male, female has absolutely nothing to do with your ability to learn, your ability to discover, explore, create, innovate, has nothing to do with those things.
I would think for you and for anybody, male, female, whatever, but I'm especially thinking about girls now, because of our conversation, that having a mentor along the way, or mentors along the way, might be really valuable. I interviewed an author, a year, maybe a couple years ago. Her name was Gabrielle, I can't remember her last name, but she co-wrote a book through National Geographic. It's called No Boundaries. So when your daughters get a little older, she wrote it actually for girls like middle school, high school, because she was saying a lot of times girls don't have role models of women doing these really interesting things. So if a girl likes animals, they say, well, I guess you could be a vet. And it's like, that's it. Whereas in this book, she has these little short 2-3 page biographies of mostly young women who are doing really interesting things all over the world, as a way of saying there's all kinds of things you could do with your interests and your talents. And a lot of times those women didn't have role models doing that, but I think it's getting better, but I wonder along the way if you had any good role models, female role models, who sort of gave you hope, gave you affirmation that said you're on the right track. It's okay. It's tough. Keep going.
If we're being honest,
Yeah.
no.
Ugh,
No.
so sad.
But I don't want to make that into oh, it's so sad. I mean, I agree with you. It would have been great, but it also completely opened up the playing field. There's
Your own
no
path.
playbook. I don't
Yeah.
have a playbook. I've
Yeah.
had 3 careers. I'm just getting started. I'm a Jewish woman married to an Arab Muslim man. Like, I don't do things the way that they're supposed to be done. I never have. I just don't. It doesn't work for me. And for whatever reason, it's made my life harder. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's been the easier path, but I am, for whatever reason, not capable of walking the traditional path. One thing I do want to say, for women, you can be your own mentor. You can carve out, you can be your own mentor. Also, you can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, mentor me, as if you are a self-made billionaire woman or whatever your sort of goal is. You can use tools available to you. You are not helpless in the lack of a mentor. Or you can find a mentor. Many women do, and many women have had mentors. My path is, I don't even understand my path. I just walk it. Another thing I do want to say, to your point, it's so true of boys too. Honestly, I think if we were doing a better job, and I do not have boys, so I am in no way criticizing the mothers of boys,
Yeah.
but as a society, I don't think we're doing right by boys either. Boys also have so many different career options. They don't have to be pigeonholed into one thing or another thing. Boys have a wide array of talents, abilities that are not being recognized and that we are not really valuing for them. I don't think we're doing right by young boys either. And I think if we were adjusting how we communicate with both of these sets of children, we would find very different adults. We would have a very different society once they grew up. I think careers, it's not that I think, I know careers and what we do as humans every day is going to change dramatically over the next 10 years. AI is already showing incredible aptitude in fields like law, medicine, law enforcement. We are going to see a huge change in the workforce, in what humans wake up and do every day with their time. So I actually think this is the perfect time to start thinking about what makes up a good life? What makes up a empowering, productive life? How can we help children identify what their unique skills and talents are that they might build a career around? How can we change the conversation for all genders, any child? Because that's going to be absolutely necessary for our coming society. And certainly for girls, because so much of the work that women tend to thrive in, caregiving, etc., tends to be work that is not currently valued in our society. But guess what? That's work that AI can't really do. Do not yet have AI.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but we've been talking to Melissa Saleh, and that's spelled Saleh. She's a serial entrepreneur, and we're talking today because March 8th is International Women's Day. So I thought it'd be good to honor a woman who's been out in the world playing at a high level. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's worked with companies, creating strategies, companies like Facebook and Google and Citibank and GE. She's written and been an editor for the New York Times, Huffington Post. She's done so many interesting things. So 2 things. I want to ask you one more quick question, because I've been keeping you a long time. And also I want you to give information for how people can find your work and stuff. But my last question is just, if you had to give a piece of advice to a young woman who is maybe in high school, in college, starting to embark on that leg of their life, their career path, what would you say to them, looking back, knowing what you know now? That's a loaded question, but knowing what you know now, what would you say to your 22-year-old self?
my 22-year-old
Well,
self.
when you were probably finishing your education, maybe along the way.
I was in law school. Yeah, I would say, I mean, to my 22-year-old self, I'd say, buckle up, honey. Gonna be bumpy,
A
but
wild ride.
gonna be a wild ride, but keep on going, don't give up, and always bet on yourself.
Mm.
One way that I have learned helps me, something that I do as a woman is I seek to find what are things that I actually love to do that most men love to do. What are some ways that I can relate to men in an authentic way? It used to be I learned everything about football, and I like and respect football, but honestly, football, I don't love football, especially at this point as a mother watching these young men get concussions for money. It doesn't sit with me as well as it used to. So, okay, I learned poker. I learned how to play poker with my husband during the pandemic. I love poker. I love it. And I cannot tell you how much joy it brings me to sit down at a table full of men and smile. And, oh, I'm just here to play some poker. And then win a monster hand and watch their faces and clean them out. It brings me incredible joy. And I only get away with it once because as soon as they know I can play, men are smart. It's,
You're a ringer. This is a
then
ringer,
they
right?
know like, okay, then I have to up my game, and I'm still getting better. Poker, you're never perfect at poker. The best in the world lose more hands than they win. But finding those ways, if you can, as a woman, find ways where you can sit down with men in as equal a way as possible and win their game as a woman, it can be a really beautiful experience. It can also be a great way to build relationships with men because it tells you very quickly if a man hates that you beat him, then he's not a man that is in a place to collaborate with you, work with you, or see you as who you are. But if you sit down with some men, poker shows you who people are, and you bluff, or you win a monster hand that they didn't think that you would be able to win, or even if you display smarts and aptitude at the game, the men whose respect you win are going to be men that you are going to want to partner with or meet or have in your circle. So these kinds of tools, it's fun for me. I love it. It's not a label, I love playing poker, and it just happens to be this arena that is very masculine. So if you can find those kinds of things for yourself as a woman, it can be a superpower. Maybe it's working out at the gym. Maybe it's something that you genuinely love that puts you in a very sort of masculine environment where you can display, you can show, not tell. You can display your unique feminine traits that make you good at this. There's an actress, Jennifer Tilly. She was pretty famous in the 80s and 90s, and she's become an incredible poker player. She's on all the pro tournaments. She's in World Series of Poker. She's at the table. She's at the Aria in Vegas with the best in the world, with Phil Hellmuth and all of these incredible poker players. And she is a woman. I mean, she does not dress in any kind of masculine way, just she is full on displaying her womanness. She also has a stack of chips this high. And if you try and mess with her, she will stare you down. And she's not, I don't know her personally, but she's someone I look up to because she shows up at that poker table and literally men start grabbing their chips and running to another table.
So there's a mentor. That's a mentor, even though you don't know her. All girls need, I think, examples of women who are being themselves, retaining their femininity, but showing leadership in a different way than perhaps the traditional patriarchal male model. So I think how can people find you, learn about you, how can they get a hold of you if that's what you are looking for?
People are welcome to get a hold of me. I am working on a book right now. It is not yet slotted, so I don't have a publication date. But you can certainly find me on social media, and you can find me through my website, melissasaleh.com. Okay, and if you're interested in fair play, check out fairplay.ai. Obviously, algorithmically led decisions about our lives impact us all. So I highly recommend everyone learning more about how is your life on a day-to-day basis being impacted by algorithms, because it is. And I think it's important for all of us to understand how these systems are impacting our own lives and our families' futures.
So for those of you who are listening to this podcast, which a lot of you do on your iWatch or your places where you can't write, as always, I will have those links on my show notes. So just go to the website drtimjordan.com and you can find those links to find Melissa and the things that she does, and that Fair Play AI link as well. Thank you so much for giving us your time and your expertise today. I really appreciate your viewpoint, because you're out there doing it, and you have been for a while, and it's not easy, but you found your way, which I think is the important thing.
I'm learning more every day. Every day is Kaizen, an opportunity to get up and learn more and do a little better. And I think that's what's called for in this time. It's time for all of us to rise up, be our best selves, because Lord knows if we don't, other people will rise up being their worst selves.
Well, that was fascinating. It's a very powerful woman, Melissa Saleh, Saleh. And I will put those links, as I said, on my website. Just go to drtimjordan.com and look at the show notes. I'm really looking forward to her book. She didn't tell me when her book's coming out, but I'll be looking for that. I hope this was valuable for you, give you some food for thought when you're raising daughters and wanting them to grow up to be powerful women, and wherever that looks like for them. It doesn't have to be being a CEO of a company. It can look like just being in charge of their life. I think too often we get the message, or our daughters get the message, that they need to lean into the top and be the CEO of a Fortune 50 company. And that may be their path, but just being the CEO of your life, being in charge of your life, making choices based upon what's right for you, that to me is being powerful. It's being a leader. It's having courage. So I appreciate Melissa's experience and for her giving our time today. I'll be back here, as always, with a brand new podcast in a week. Look for my new book. It's coming out, Keeping Your Family Grounded When You're Flying by the Seat of Your Pants. It's a revised edition. It should be coming out anytime. Look for that, and hope you can find that on my website, or it'll be out online, Amazon, all those kinds of things. I'll be back here in a week with a brand new podcast. Thanks so much, as always, for stopping by.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Raising Daughters. Hopefully you've learned something useful about girls and young women and how to help them navigate the pressures, challenges, and opportunities of modern life. If you want to become a more effective parent, keep listening to the show at drtimjordan.com and let the conversations shape you. Build that one-of-a-kind connection with your daughters in the most profound and meaningful ways possible, shaping them into strong, confident women of the future. That's all for now. See you next week for another episode of Raising Daughters.